in my town. There's a place everyone just called the station. It's a humble name for a vast, sprawling complex that hides its true scale behind modest walls. Trains come and go day and night, above ground and below, while the station itself is cluttered with shops, market stalls, and a dizzying array of services. Most people in town know the place inside and out, and we all follow the unspoken rules. I remember going there as a child with my mother. I was always in awe of how massive it was, filled with items I had never seen before and services I couldn't even begin to understand. As we wandered through the marketplace, I remember seeing signs on every corner, maps posted everywhere, and one message that always stood out: return to the designated overnight shelter, or vacate the property before sundown. Back then, I didn't fully understand the weight of that warning, but it stuck with me. Years passed, and with them, the station faded from my thoughts. My mother passed away, and life became more about work, relationships, and bills. The station became a distant memory until last week. I had recently lost my job and was looking for anything to fill the void. After much thought, I decided to visit the station again. It had been so long since I'd wandered through its halls, and perhaps seeing it would give me some peace, a reminder of simpler times. So I drove there unsure of what I might find. When I arrived, I was immediately struck by how confusing it all seemed. The layout was bizarre, the buildings and tunnels twisted in a way that made no sense. I was sure I'd gotten a map when I entered, but even with it, the place felt impossible to navigate. It seemed like whoever designed it just put random ideas together, as if the entire space were some kind of maze. I shook off my doubts. It was just the nature of the station, right? I'd be fine. I spent the afternoon browsing the shops and chatting with people, and it felt like I had never left. It was nice. Eventually, curiosity led me to the subway portion of the station. It was a part I'd never explored before. The moment I stepped down into the subway, though, I felt a shift. The lively atmosphere of the main area was gone, replaced by dim fluorescent lights, the stale scent of the air, and endless rows of identical gray walls. It was suffocating. I walked a little deeper, my unease growing, until I finally found a boarding station. At last, some relief, a large open area, and a bustle of people. I joined the line at the concession stand, hoping a snack and water would calm my nerves. It wasn't long before I heard the rumble of an approaching train. When it arrived, I couldn't help but look closer at the passengers inside. What I saw was strange, alien even. There were people with insectoid features, one creature that looked like a larger-than-life version of Bigfoot, and beings with reptilian faces. They were unlike anything I had ever seen, and I stood frozen, stunned by what I was witnessing. My heart was still racing when the person behind me cleared his throat. I realized I was next in line, so I moved forward, trying to shake off what I had just seen. I grabbed a snack and found a bench to sit on, but my mind kept racing. I tried to convince myself it was all just costumes, or perhaps I was imagining things. It didn't work, and soon, the creeping sense of being watched overtook me. I glanced around, and that's when I noticed it. Every single person in the station was staring at me. I could feel their eyes on me, cold and unsettling. As I locked eyes with one person, they silently pointed to the yellow warning sign posted nearby, the one I'd seen earlier. My stomach dropped. Panic set in. I scrambled to pull out my phone to check the time. It was 9 p.m. That was it. I had to get out of there. The thought of being caught after dark made my skin crawl. Funny, isn't it? I was terrified of the place, yet all I could think about was getting arrested for being there too late. I hurried back the way I came, but the subway tunnels felt even more oppressive now. The air seemed thicker, the lights blinding, and the entire station seemed to be pushing back against me, urging me to leave. It was then that I realized I had left my map on the bench. Panic surged through me again. I couldn't go forward without it, but I was also terrified of going back to get it. It was a no-win situation. Finally, I made the decision to turn around. As I approached the bench, I froze. There, standing in the tunnel, was a man I recognized from the boarding area. He didn't move, and I didn't either. The tension hung thick in the air. Finally, he spoke, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. "Did you see the sign?" "Yeah. I'm leaving now." "I just need my map," I replied, trying to sound calm. He didn't react, just stared at me. Then he repeated himself. "Did you see the sign?" "I saw it," I snapped, frustrated. "I just need to go." The man stepped forward, then another step and another. I stepped back, unease blooming into full-blown dread. Then he lunged forward, breaking into a sprint. "Did you see the sign?" he called, his voice chillingly monotone. I bolted. My feet pounded the floor, my breath coming in ragged gasps as I sprinted through the endless gray hallways, the man's voice echoing behind me. "Did you see the sign?" His words blended with the sound of my panic-stricken footsteps. I twisted and turned through the tunnels, desperate to escape. "Did you see the sign?" The phrase became a constant drumbeat in my ears, driving me to run faster, further, until the voice began to fade, becoming more distant. I didn't stop until I couldn't hear him anymore. Panting, heart racing, I collapsed against the wall, the fear still vibrating in my chest. For a long time, I just sat there, trying to catch my breath, but reality began to sink in. I was lost. No map, no phone signal, no clear way out. I was alone, deep in the labyrinth of the subway. My only supplies, a bottle of water and half a bag of candy. I rose to my feet, looking down the endless stretch of tunnel. I had no choice but to keep walking, hoping to find an exit before it was too late.